This episode of the Beauty Industry podcast was brought to you by Dermalus Skincare, the exciting new Australian company at the forefront of the cosmeceutical industry. Hello and welcome to the Beauty Industry podcast, your online support community for the professional beauty industry. I am your host, founding director of Beauty Industry, Tamara Reid. Here we are closing the competitive gap and speaking your language. This is a platform created and dedicated to the professional beauty industry, valuing community over competition. We serve to help connect you with inspiration from industry experts, expand your knowledge through educational pieces, and bring you the latest in product and technology innovation. This is Beauty Industry. Today's guest is the wonderful Pia Kynoch of Verve Skin Beauty Wellness and Pia Kynoch Holistic Education. Pia's love for evolving and expanding her ability to serve at the highest level has seen her learn from almost every master educator in the beauty and skin industry over the last 20 years, as well as attending countless seminars and workshops on topics of internal and external health, including neuroinflammation, gut-brain axis, detoxification, and environmental pollutants, just to name a few. You may recognise Pia's name as well as her warm tone of voice throughout her educational posts on social media, as well as in Dermoscope magazine, the ASDC blog, Spa Beauty New Zealand, and also the APJ journal. As a beauty business owner herself, Pia has now transitioned into providing holistic education, relating a myriad of relevant lifestyle factors and the impact that they have upon the digestive system and how that influences skin for therapists across the country. Today, Pia educates us on the digestive pathway, what digestion interruption looks like when treating, and how we can help our clients the fastest way possible while still staying within our scope of practice. Take out your pens and paper for this episode, community, because you're about to be blown away by the information about digestion. Here's Pia and I for Beauty Industry. Welcome to the podcast, Pia.
Thank you so much for having me, Tamara. I am super pleased to be here. I know that one of the things that I personally have really taken a shining to with you is that you're also empowering people through really excellent, relevant education and light bulb moments. And so it's truly an honor and a delight to share space with you and your tribe today. Thanks for having me.
Oh, that's so kind. Thank you so much. And likewise, I've seen so much about you on Instagram and on Facebook, and your stuff just gets shared and spread like rapid fire. It is amazing. But before all of that, I want to find out where you started your beauty career, because you've been in this industry quite some time now.
Yes, quite some time, which I realised the other day is actually adding up to about 25 years ago. So, I really feel like it's back in the day. And so, at about 25 years ago, I was 16. In year 12, I had just started as a receptionist, or I guess a salon assistant. She had previously been a nurse, and then she'd moved across into the beauty industry. She'd started her business. She was also lecturing at what was then called Flagstaff TAFE, and that's now become Vic Uni for anyone listening in Victoria, and or also anyone who is in the 40 plus age category who may have studied with my mum. She was really involved in shaping the industry direction back then. And so you could, I guess, literally say I grew up in the industry. Not that I really truly had any plans to come into it, because when I finished year 12, I really had no idea what I wanted to do. I was good at many things. I had good marks. I just didn't really have a particular direction. And so when I began working full-time with mum at her clinic, I also started studying full-time at Flagstaff, so straight out of year 12. Then I moved into Vic Uni when they changed names and premises, and I guess you could really honestly say that my career kind of began by default. So it's an unusual, I guess, an unusual way to start. It really just came about mainly because of my mum and the fact that I felt so comfortable in the industry, and it just seemed like a good choice at the time. And so it's just developed a lot since then.
Yeah, hasn't it changed? I mean, the changes that I'm seeing in this industry today, even compared to when I started 12 years ago, are so different. But for yourself, 25, I mean, my goodness, it's just evolving every day, isn't it?
Yeah, it sure is. It is actually amazing looking at the developments, but even in the last couple of years, the things that are coming out now in the science world, and our understanding of skin physiology is literally, it's dynamic and shifting and changing all the time. Like, it's a very exciting industry to be part of.
Yeah, you're not wrong there. And so you said you kind of fell into beauty by default because of your mum. What was it about beauty when you got there that you fell more in love with and you kind of built a passion for?
Um, Really, I love looking after people. That I'm a natural people pleaser. I love sharing with people and changing the trajectory of how they feel about themselves. So, really helping people look great and feel amazing in their own skin is something that I've been, I guess, working my whole life towards. And so, yeah, that has a passion that has just grown and grown and grown over time. And I really do enjoy the one-on-one relationships that I've built over time with the people that I look after too. So whether it's with my clients or with my team or just in the industry as a whole, like I just love the relationship development. It's a really important part of how satisfied I feel in my day-to-day life.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say the relationships because I think sometimes as therapists, we forget that it is a relationship, customer service industry. And we just think, oh, I'm going to do these treatments. Sometimes the sales and kind of the targets take over. And we forget that it's supposed to be a giving service industry. So I love that you emphasis on the relationships there.
Yeah, totally. I mean, we are in a service industry. Like, I really feel like I am here to serve, and I guess, yeah, I've really developed myself as a business leader, and even how I manage my team. I don't even talk about KPIs honestly anymore. Like, I'm all about how people feel, how interactive it is. Like, how can we build your passion, your learning? Like, what difference are you making to your client and how they feel? KPIs is just not, it's just not as relevant to me as how happy people are when they are within my work environment. So
Yeah,
yeah, that
amazing.
naturally flows, honestly. Like, those two things go hand in hand. The happier your business is, and all your workmates and your clients, the business just thrives because you're in that thriving atmosphere. To thrive, you're shining, you're radiant. Like, things are working well. There's flow, there's ease. So all of those things just naturally start working together.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more actually. When I was in my second management role, we took the day spa from sitting around 63 up to the top five. And I was only 23 at the time, and I had business owners, because it was a franchise, phoning me saying, "What are you doing over there? Like, how have you just got this massive growth?" And all I could put it down to was that I just loved the team and I gave back to them, on Valentine's Day and on their birthdays, and if it was their anniversary or something. And that's all it is. Like, people just want to feel heard and validated for their hard work.
And appreciated. Yeah, absolutely. Beautiful. I've just got the biggest smile on my face. I love hearing stories like that. Well done.
And so tell me then, where did Verve Skin Beauty and Wellness come in? And I must let you know, I don't know if you know this, but I used to manage the Endota Spa on High Street in Kew. And
Oh, no, I never knew that.
yes, and I used to look at your business and I was like, it is so good. And I would always say to the girls, go past and have a little look at what they're doing down there because their clients are raving about them.
No, that's fantastic. How long ago was that? That's amazing.
Oh, that was maybe 2013.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Isn't it amazing that our paths are coming again together? I mean, not that I knew at the time, but that's awesome. I love that. Sorry, now I've forgotten what the question was. What did you ask me?
So when did Verve come into the spot? Did you always want to be a business owner? How did that even come
So,
about?
Verve, where I've been working, was started like 33 or 34 years ago by my mum. So that's literally the business
Wow.
that I started working in like 24 or 25 years ago when I started in the industry. And so, yeah, look, I bought the business off my mum about 14 years ago, and it has really been a very challenging road, like just personally and professionally, and with family. We've just had numerous tragedies and traumas, and just honestly, kind of an unbelievable amount of things have happened. And so, yeah, it's been a super hard journey. And 14 years ago, when I bought the business, I really was not loving it. Like I was kind of out of mojo. I was really out of steam. I was really using my my incredible willpower and determination to drag myself through. And I guess it was really all the different traumas and triumphs that catapulted me into all the different learnings that were to come next. So, I had gone from a feeling of being really empty and isolated and really disconnected and unsupported. And of course, all of those things mean that you are very, very stressed. And, and so it was, I guess, through this lens that I was able then to create the change that really desperately I had been seeking deep down for quite a long time. And so I really was in a space where I wanted to get to know myself more, and my conditionings and my beliefs, and how I could shape new perspectives. And so I began to search for and find and embrace people in multitudes of arenas, like personally and professionally, that could help me. And I think one of the biggest things is that I finally began asking for help, and finally began learning how to receive help. That still can be challenging for me sometimes, because I am such a giver naturally. Just learning how to let people have their own healthy give and receive cycle by letting them give to me, and partaking in sharing equally and abundantly. So yeah, that really helped shape my direction 14 years ago. Like, was just all the healing, I guess, that I went into to come out of that long dark tunnel. So that really started shaping Verve. Like, really everything that I have ever done has just evolved Verve more and more and more and more as I've grown and expanded and changed and shifted my consciousness. So
Amazing.
it really is an arm of me.
Yes. And I want to ask you, because this is something that, outside people can look in and they can see that you're stuck. But when you were in that space, how did you know you were stuck? Because I think that recognition is the hardest part.
I really, those moments when you think I'm actually going crazy because I'm doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. So I really recognized that I was in different ways. Like, it would be the same version of a different story, like they would all have very similar themes. And so when I started looking at that, I was like, you are going crazy. You are sending yourself crazy by expecting something different. And so what do you need to do to be accountable? Like, where can I, obviously I think when you're feeling isolated and disconnected, you are literally taking away accountability and responsibility from yourself, and you're projecting it onto other people. Like, you're blaming, and you're feeling fear or judgment or whatever. And so I just took all of that personal responsibility back and started looking at what I could do to change things. And that was the beginning. So instead of looking to blame or judge, I was like, where am I? What is my role in this? And so that was a huge step. And I think once you're on that path, you can't stop. And everything just keeps unfolding. Like, the learnings just keep unfolding. And I mean, obviously each learning presents its own new set of challenges, and it's just about keeping that one foot, keeping on going in front of the next. And again, looking for that help and the support around you, because it's always there when you open your perspective.
Yeah, I love that, because I hear so many business owners in the kind of mentoring space that I'm in now, and they say, my team, my staff, my business, my clients. And I'm just kind of sitting there going, actually, it might be you,
Yeah,
but sometimes it's hard to recognize that.
Oh God, yeah. I mean, I have done so much work around, I create my own reality. Like it's something I've delved into really deep, and so sometimes I can still get myself caught up in little cycles of stress and overwhelm, and it's very hard to break down those neuroplasticity pathways. Like it's, if you've got a conditioned pathway of response that you go down when you are really tired and really stressed, and other things have added to that, it can be really easy to follow that pathway. So I mean, it's just giving yourself the opportunity to acknowledge it sooner and faster so that you can change it in sooner and faster. Like I don't give myself a hard time anymore if I realize all of a sudden I lift my head up and I'm like, what on earth am I doing? Pia, you are doing something that you don't want to do. And I just shift it from there. So it's just about giving yourself the opportunity to recognize that you want different ways of doing things and that you actively seek it.
Yes, amazing. And I want to come back to Verve. What does your role look like at Verve these days? I mean, how many days are you treating versus working on the business? What does that look like?
God, it's still mental. It's something that I've been working on changing, I feel like, forever. And so I still have booked with clients 40 hours a week. And
Wow.
I was doing that the whole time I was studying full time as well, and running the business, like doing the business management side of stuff as on top of that. And now, I'm basically running still another business because I've got my Kynoch holistic education up and running, and it's pretty overwhelming pretty much every week. So I love all the things that I'm doing, but I really am working on decreasing my floor contact hours because I love my business, and I know that I'm not doing it all the justice that could be done in terms of running it and my team really, really well. So because my attention is spread so thin. So this year is about me not at all diversifying anymore. It's about me really I've got mastery in some levels, but I'm really looking at mastering my skills and my skill base, and looking at places and areas that I can fine tune and hone so that I am creating the greatest happiness, flow, joy, not just for myself or my business, but for everyone that's part of it. So yeah, that's the next step. less hours on the floor is still required to do that.
Yes, incredible. And I want to ask you, because every therapist treats so differently as per, their education or perhaps what kind of products that they stock in their space. What is your stance on treating the skin when you are spending those 40 hours a week with your clients?
Yeah, I mean, I guess this has also been part of the change in my trajectory. Around 6 or 7 years ago, I came across dermavisuals and corneotherapy. And so at that stage in my life, I was a very heavy peels and microdermabrasion based clinic, and loved it. I used to do all sorts of crazy things to not just my skin, but my client's skin. Well, I consider it crazy now. And thinking at the time, I was really well learned. I've attended, every single skin training around, and at the time, I thought I was really doing the best thing possible. But I went from having 5 different ranges in my clinic to having one range after I went to the dermavisuals training and did more research around corneotherapy. And then obviously I headed into naturopathy degree as well. And it just really changed my beliefs about looking after the skin and the skin structure, and really respecting the top layer of our skin with the level of love and support that it really truly deserves, instead of trying to rip it off every second day or every week. So that has really shaped my clinic in a whole nother direction. It's what I think a lot of people classify dermavisuals as a real thinking therapist range, because it can be individualized and customized. You really need to understand skin and structure and function. And so you are really challenged every single day, and that makes your job really satisfying and interesting. And it's always a journey, and it's always developing, and it strengthens your relationship with your client and also to skin. Like you're constantly learning or just reiterating learning on the skin, and I really enjoy that. I find that really satisfying.
Yeah, and I must admit, I've sat in on one of Simone's, just like an hour session, and I think she had so much knowledge just to fit in that hour. She's like so fast, and I was like, Oh my goodness, that was incredible.
Yes.
The amount of knowledge that comes from both Rekia and Simone, they're amazing women, aren't they?
Totally. And it's really inspirational, and they also don't stop. Like they don't rest on their laurels. They're always looking at different ways of innovation or improvement, or new ways of educating their band of therapists. And even now they've started up a new, it's not aligned to any product range, just an educational arm of their business, which is just so awesome, so that every skin therapist, it doesn't matter what range you're using, can have access to the level of education that they offer. And I mean, I just love that approach. I think that the sharing of information is what strengthens our industry, and it brings people together, and it creates discussion, and it creates us all forming better practices that help our industry and help our clients.
After the break, Pia shares with us her knowledge and education about digestion. But first, a word from today's beauty partner. Dermalus Skincare is the exciting new Australian company at the forefront of the cosmeceutical industry. Designed to reduce the time, complexity, and number of products required to achieve clinically beautiful skin, clients and clinicians alike have been going crazy for the fast, dramatic results Dermalus has been delivering since their launch in late 2019. Due to such an overwhelming response from their range, Dermalus are actively looking for stockers to bring their powerfully simple 3-step skincare system to new locations in 2020. Join the revolution of multitasking, clean clinical cosmeceuticals by becoming a stockist today. Head to www.dermalist.com/stockist for more information. Thank you to the team at Dermalist for making this episode of the Beauty Industry Podcast possible. And now, back to Pia. And so when did the education that you were telling and feeding your clients transfer into having the same education and telling and feeding therapists?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I have always loved learning. I've always had a very strong innate desire to inspire and encourage other people's learning. So I really do think it was something that I pretty much was born with. But really, it was at about the time that I started studying my naturopathy degree. I realized that I had shifted very strongly from simply being a learning addict, which I definitely was for a long part of my life, just a learning junkie, to actually taking that learning into transformation, and being able to really easily share what I'd learned with others in a way that made even really quite complex topics really personal, really relevant, and accessible to them. And so I started mentoring other therapists, and obviously, I'm constantly sharing with my team as well. And so from the feedback that I was getting from every person that I was working with, it really just made me want to step onto that platform more and more. And I really do want to create big ripple effects in our industry, because I know that anyone can learn. I mean, we've all got so much access, and free access generally, to an amazing amount of information. But learning is just the smallest fraction of what changes us. It's that transformation of views and beliefs and actions through our access to information, and through our access to experiences and our critical thinking, that shifts the way we can interact with our industry and our world and our treatment protocols. And yeah, that's what really excites me, and that's why I'm so thrilled that I'm finally finished my degree, and I've got a little bit of space at work, and that I can step up onto this platform, because just being able to change the way education is delivered and understood. I'm the only person currently that I know that's offering information in the way that I'm offering it to people, so that I can really deepen their understanding of what holistic treatment practices are, and what it means, and how everything is linked in together. And so, yeah, I just love contributing and creating a positive ripple effects through sharing. And I totally applaud other people that are doing the same thing. I love it.
Amazing. And so something I've seen you speak a lot about is, that link between lifestyle and then digestive system. I mean, there's so much to go into. Where does one even start when they want to learn about that, or talk about that, or research that?
It is so huge. It really is. But I think for anybody trying to learn any body system, starting with understanding of anatomy and physiology is the foundation upon which you expand. And it
Mm.
doesn't matter whether you're just as a skin therapist, like understanding skin structure and function is vitally important before you can even start understanding like how different ingredients interact with the skin, how different ingredients interact with each other and then the skin, and then how different environments and lifestyle choices will interact with the skin. So the same can be applied to the digestive system. And so, I mean, a really simple way to start is, I have utilized this a number of different times when I've been learning is YouTube. I love it. But Khan Academy, Khan, they do some really simple, easy to understand like short classes on every single system in the body. I mean, they've got so many topics on everything in our world today, but just being able to sit down whenever you've got 15 minutes and watch something on the digestive system over and over and over again and how they all link in, that's where to start. So that runs through anatomy and physiology and function, and that's definitely the place to begin.
Amazing. And I love that you mentioned there, there's so many free resources. Everybody's got online programs and YouTube, and you just have to sometimes Google or even, have a look at your product and what they're offering. And, sometimes people say to me, oh, I haven't gone to a class in ages, or my business owner won't pay for me to go to this class. And I'm like, you have zero excuse. I'm so sorry, because there's so
I
much
couldn't
out
agree more. Could not agree more. And also, if you're not self-led, I mean, being self-led means that you are being accountable for your life. You're not, again, making excuses or blaming someone else about what you're not able to do. And so it doesn't matter whether you're the employer or the employee, it really is that accountability of what can I make a difference to in my life today. And everyone can start somewhere, and there is so many small chunks of information out there, whether you read one page of an anatomy and physiology book, or you watch the 15 minutes of a video, or wherever your passion is, follow your passion for that week, for that whole week. Invest 2 weeks even into a learning for 15 minutes a day, and that will in some small way change your whole trajectory. So the accountability is definitely on the person, because there is so much available at our fingertips.
Amazing. And so, speaking about accountability, I wanted to ask you, because we are talking about digestive here, and obviously you're a qualified naturopath, so that is more than fine for you. But when we as therapists, sometimes we put our education hat on, and then all of a sudden we're a cowboy or a cowgirl. So what is like
Yes.
this general practice that beauty therapists should be sticking to when we're providing advice to clients?
Yeah, so obviously, it's really important to only provide advice sticking to your scope of practice, which is all to do with each individual's education, their training, and also their competence, and also what is authorized by their clinic as well. So it's a two-way street. So sometimes you could have a level of education, but your clinic might not want you to provide it. There's all different layers to that conversation even. But even before I had finished my naturopathy degree, I was so careful about the way that I worded things. You can't even make a suggestion really, because if someone was to go and follow your suggestion and something went wrong for them, legally you are going to be in trouble. And that is such a big thing. I cannot emphasize that enough. Like you are legally not allowed to give direct suggestions that can impact someone's health. And so you can say things like, there is evidence that taking zinc and omega-3 as a supplement, and you could even write down doses that you referenced from a scientific article, that can improve skin healing, reduce acne, or improve gut lining integrity, whatever it is that you're specifically focusing on for the clients. And these are the doses that were mentioned in the study, and leave it at that. So what you're doing is providing information without making it sound like a direct suggestion from you. Legally, you're not allowed to do more than that. And it's a really hard line to follow. I totally understand, and particularly the more educated you are, but that's when your referral network is super, super important. So your ability to be able to say, I'm recognizing that there's a number of different things that seem to be pointing to, towards me suggesting that you need to go and see a naturopath or a nutritionist or a doctor or an endocrinologist, or whatever it is that your intuition is guiding you to for your person in front of you. But it's really important that you know exactly what your scope of practice is and don't step outside those lines.
Yes, I love that. And it's more so like it is a recommendation or a suggestion rather than a prescription, because we shouldn't be prescribing things
Absolutely.
that are out of our scope. But I adore there how you're saying, like, get a community of people who are, specialists in that area. If you're doing a massage, get a chiro referral. If you're doing, talking
Totally.
about and gut and talking about skin, then get a naturopath referral. So I really appreciate that, because sometimes we as therapists, we put a lot of burden on ourselves and we think, oh my gosh, I've done
Mm,
this whole course of treatments, the acne's not
mm,
moving. Now we
mm.
should look internally. And it's almost like, okay, well, the client's now spent $1,500 plus
Yeah.
or more. Could we have not had that relationship symbiotically from the very beginning?
Absolutely. And there's a huge power in that. And there's a huge build of trust when you lay all that information out on the first consult, which is why I personally believe consultations are the most important thing that you could possibly do when a client walks through the door. So we just don't do skin programs for people unless they've had a full consultation. Like it just doesn't happen in our clinic. And so it's, yeah, that level of ability to see where that person might need extra help is what that person is seeking your professional opinion and guidance for. Like
Mm,
it's not negligent if you don't share it, but it really does mean that there is another level of distrust for them with you if they have reached the end of a course and as you said, then nothing has shifted or nothing much has changed, and then you say, well, it's your gut and I think you should go and see this person.
yeah.
um, and it is also, I must say from previous experience, it really can be challenging. It can also be really easy, but I did find it challenging a number of times to find people that I wanted to have a referral network with. So I wrote lots of letters, I introduced myself. When you find the right people, nothing is more powerful, but they really have to know you and what you're about. I think that there's a lot of power in that. So if you take the time to find people that you want to have, it's not even necessarily like a joint venture, but it's a reciprocal relationship, them understanding what you offer and the difference that you can make potentially with their clients, and that you are sending clients to them because you respect them and honor their professionalism. That's a great network to start, and particularly if you are interested in extending your learning and career opportunities later.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I'm wondering if you can tell us, when a client is having a response with their digestive system, what will this show up as or look like? And what can we kind of see or feel change wise in that skin?
This is another really big question to answer, because honestly, it's pretty much everything.
Mm,
but particularly, like, so the things that, I mean, there's real standout things: perioral dermatitis or any other form of dermatitis, autoimmune things. So you're looking at lupus and psoriasis, um, any sort of big sensitivities or histamine responses in the skin, acne, slow healing, if someone's got a lot of pustules or even a lot of blackheads. All skin conditions can be related to what is happening within the gut. Like there are intrinsic connections between our skin function, our gut function, our nervous system, our immune system, and our hormonal systems. Like they are inextricably and very complex, very complexly linked, and
mhm.
it's really hard. You can't really disengage one from the other. So it is knowing that they are all actually forever linked. And so when you're looking at a really significant skin presentation in someone, and particularly, I mean, I call it leaky skin, leaky gut, those two things work the same. So if someone's got dysbiosis on their skin, you can assume that they've got dysbiosis in their gut. If their skin barrier is really impaired, you can assume that their gut barrier lining will be impaired. And so, you can make similar assumptions. Your skin is your largest interface between your internal world and external world. Your gut is your second largest interface between your internal world and your external world, and they require, generally speaking, very similar ingredients for their optimal cell structure and functioning. So, yeah, pretty big correlations between
Yeah.
between all of it.
Yes, I think I was only saying to somebody the other day, I was having a chat to my friend about some food and I was saying, oh, this ingredient does this and coenzyme Q10 and blah, 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 blah. she was like, how do you know all this, like about food, you know, and diet and what we're eating? And I said, well, we're skin therapists and it's the same ingredients that we're using internally to get someone healthy as it is externally.
Totally. Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, that's, I guess, before I started studying naturopathy, I guess I had reached end game with the level of, I guess, what you call free information or even short course information that was around. And I basically was like, God, I've really just got to do this degree to get to that level of knowledge, or to open myself up into the next level of knowledge where I felt like I could help people that bit more. And so it's not for everyone. Like it's definitely not meant to be for everyone either, but just knowing that there are links between all of those systems and having a good general concept of that to be able to suggest to your client that it's time to go and see someone else who specializes in that. That's really important. It doesn't matter about your actual level of knowledge in it. It's just about recognizing that they're linked and that that client may need more support or more help. So
Yes. Yeah, so much. Now, you mentioned before consultation, and this is something I literally probably have every single episode on the podcast on. I always come back to consultation because it
yes.
absolutely blows my mind that a client comes in 15 minutes out of their day to fill in a consultation form, and then some therapists are leaving it in the staff kitchen or in the treatment room and not even looking at it. And then I'm like, but how do you know the lifestyle factors? How do you know what your client's doing, you know, to create that concern? I mean, when you do a consultation, what kind of lifestyle factors are you making sure that you pinpoint or you highlight during that consult so that you can kind of, you know, marry up all of the dots and ask, you know, where, or pinpoint maybe where it is coming from digestively?
Absolutely. And I must also say, to even preface this, like they are the gems, like the answers to your consult questions are the gems with which you get to build your treasure chest of being able to successfully help someone. Like without recognizing those answers and even the further questions that can come from those answers, you're going to be stunted in your ability to help that person. So I also cannot emphasize enough how important consultation is. And it is, I mean, later on, I get asked this all the time, I will be extending into holistic skin consultation seminars. But
Amazing.
the holistic digestive intensive seminars were more important for me to start with, because anyone that's attended them are going to get so much more from the holistic skin consultation ones, because that layering of understanding will be obviously deeper. But yeah, I just think that there's a huge lack of really honoring and respecting what those questions mean in terms of what those answers are going to be able to do to help you. And so actually when people have to sit down, when they're having a consultation with me, they've actually got to answer 6 pages of questions before we even sit down. Like,
Wow.
yeah, I ask a lot of questions, because that is for me the springboard into how then I can further unravel what I think that their personal triggers are, because everyone's going to have very personal inflammatory triggers, like how you respond to stress, or how you respond to different foods, or how you respond to any myriad of things in your life is going to be completely different to how I respond. And so I need to ask the questions to get the answers to work out where I think your biggest triggers are. So when I'm looking particularly at how I think someone's digestive system is working, I mean, they are pretty involved questions, but just to give an idea, it's how someone's relationship to food is. If someone's not enjoying buying, eating, making their food, I know that they're not going to be digesting and absorbing it in a way that I personally would love to be able to see them be able to do to optimize their digestive function. So the relationship to food is really important. Obviously, the types of food consumed, you know, you are the building blocks of your body. This can be challenging. I actually look after a lot of people who are really well. Like I'm totally into wellness and further enhancing wellness. So sometimes if I'm presented with someone who is honestly, they're ticking all the boxes on all the different levels, like they do yoga 3 times a week, they cycle a couple of times a week, they are eating super healthy, they're not eating gluten, they're having very minimal dairy, they drink lots of water, and they don't have much refined sugar. It means that I've got to find out what's happening with their digestion absorption. So I might look at the timing of their meals, but also I would be looking at their responses to food. They might be having really small or sometimes quite big flare-ups of food that they might have become accustomed to. Like, are they getting bloating or belching, upwind or downwind, after meals, or a feeling of nausea, or, you know, there's lots of different questions. And again, you can find out a lot of these questions online. Like, if you would like to take the time to research, food diaries and food diary symptoms and what they mean, a lot of this information is available for anyone to look at online. And I totally encourage you to start having a look if you're interested. And so a food diary can definitely be a great place to start, just to link in the changes of skin, the patterns with food intake and the timing of food intake, and what is actually happening on that person's skin. So yeah, that could be a good place to start.
Yeah. And I so like that you say, it's 6 pages of consultation, but I'm sure even though you've got 6 pages and they're such in-depth questions, you're not asking the same question, the same spiel to every single client. Like, I cannot stand when therapists do that and they just act like a robot, and it's not even a conversation really, it's just firing off questions. But too, because you said there that people respond to food so differently, and I love that you say the food diaries, because do you know the sweet pods? It's like a semicircle biscuit shell with like
I've had them before. Yes, I know what they
pods.
are.
Oh my goodness. So my husband introduced me to these pods, and I literally ate like half a packet. I know, such a bad therapist, but it was over Christmas. And I ate half a packet, and I'm not kidding you. I got up off the couch and I looked 9 months pregnant. He was like, Tamara, what are you actually pregnant? And I was like, something is happening right now. I've just grown a baby. And I thought, this is so weird. And so the next day I was in the bathroom all the day. Lucky I work from home. Goodness me, I don't know how people in the office do it. Anyway, and then a couple of months, a couple of weeks later, we had some more pods. And again, I was 9 months pregnant in the click of a finger. And he's there, sitting there, of course, men, eating all these pods, not putting on any weight, not looking 9 months pregnant. And I'm like, what is going on? And it's so interesting because we eat all the same foods. We have the same breakfast, we have the same lunch, the same dinner, because I make everything for him. But my stomach and my digestion just respond so differently to his. And I love, this is why you can't ask the same questions to everyone, right?
No, not at all. And little small variations in answers, like I talk about this sometimes. So, a small variation in an answer can have a huge difference long term. And so if you think about 2 planes taking off from the same airport and they've only got a 1 degree difference in trajectory and they travel for 14 hours, their landing points across the globe are completely different. And that's 1% from where they started. So that's why small incremental differences can make huge long-term difference, either for the positive or the negative. So sometimes it's about sifting through what seems to be pretty innocuous answers to find where patterns are coming up. And that's really, I see it doesn't matter whether you're a skin therapist or you've got a higher level of learning in terms of digestive function and stuff, but you are being a detective. You are really, for that individual person in front of you, you are trying to individually unwrap their personal and very unique health history, whether it's related to their skin or any other layer that you are able to add into your clinic. So we're the greatest detectives of our time.
Yes, absolutely.
They should make more TV series about us.
And I wanted to know, I know that there's no quick fix. I mean, perhaps put the pods down is a quick fix, but if a therapist is wanting to create a fast change, so that they build a bit of social proof or credibility with that client who maybe thinks, oh, you can't do anything. Where do we start, or what would be like a really quick thing that they could do to, kind of help treat that digestion within one treatment, perhaps?
So I am going to give 2 different answers here. So to start with, mindfulness, breath work, and chewing your food. They make a huge difference. I cannot emphasize that enough. So pretty much, well, in fact, not just pretty much, 100% of my treatment protocols will involve breath work and mindfulness as their number 1 priority. I've actually not come across a person yet, maybe one person actually, who has a very amazing handle on how present they are in their body, in their day. And so, mindfulness and chewing properly, and definitely deep breathing before, during, after meals, super important. Will change your digestion for many different reasons. But also, if you're looking at different foods, the top three for me, well, the top four. So you've got processed foods in general, but then sugar and dairy, apart from natural yogurt mainly, and wheat. I mean, I'm looking to, they're my easy to eliminate ones. There's a lot of information, again, for people who want to explore that a little bit more on the net. There's lots of different diet plans and that sort of stuff that are free resources. That's a really great place to start in terms of elimination. But just keeping in mind too, that if someone's presenting with a very chronic problem, and you combine that with some very drastic dietary changes, even if they are totally for the positive, you can sometimes throw people into what I call a healing crisis. And so that can be true even if it's just the introduction of skincare. It can be true even if it's just the introduction of supplements or dietary changes. So it's about also making sure that you as a treating therapist have definitely empowered that person with the information that could happen to them and what that might feel like or look like to them. Definitely don't let them go into any drastic changes blind, because there are a lot of different internal processes that will be changing, if you do implement some pretty drastic things. So yeah, that's just another big thing to put into consideration.
Yeah, and to perhaps lean into it slowly. I mean, if you told me dairy, wheat, sugar, and refined foods tomorrow, I would be like, oh my gosh, how am I going to do this? It's too much. And then I go into overwhelm and then I eat a packet of pots again, So
Yes.
I think sometimes, it's easier said to be done. So maybe lean into your recommendation slower.
Yeah, and that's also why I do find it easy just to start with mindfulness and chewing and presence. That is something that we can all do, and it's not a really big change. And particularly if people have structured meal times, like if they are in an office, they can set reminders up on their phone. And so if someone's got a pretty chaotic day-to-day schedule, that can be harder to get the reminders in at a time that suits that person. But you really have to navigate that, with each individual that's in front of you. But definitely having that collaboration with your client. I never implement any changes unless I know that my client is on board, and I will ask them questions to find out how on board they are. Even I'll get them to rate it, because if they're not a 10 out of 10 or a 9 out of 10, they just won't be compliant, and we're just not going to get them the results that they want. And so often when I do a consult, I send follow-up emails afterwards, and I space them out over time, because I do offer a huge amount of information in my follow-up emails and I prioritize that information into a couple of different easy to be made changes, but it gives people time to digest and absorb that information, and we can still navigate any questions or answers they might have. And I often, when I meet people, I say, within the next month, these are the changes that I'm looking to do, but I really want to give you time to think about it. I want to give you time to ask me questions. I want to give you time so that I can give you some more education around it, so that when you're ready to make the move, you're all in. Because unless you're all in, I'm not going to be able to get the differences and changes that I need.
Yeah, incredible. Now, I want to ask you, you are traveling around. I know you've done some classes in Sydney and some classes in Melbourne. What is a common myth or a frequent question that you are asked by your students in relation to the digestive system?
So I reckon the most common conversation that I have is the one about apple cider vinegar or warm water in lemon juice in the morning, which I am totally in favor of if it's within a 15 to half an hour minute window of eating your food. So I know that a lot of people have it upon waking, and it does actually stimulate your digestive secretions. But then if you are waiting a really long time before your first meal, it means that you then have to reignite your digestive secretions, which does take a whole lot more nutrients. And if you're already a little bit nutrient strapped or under resourced, or if you've already got some digestive issues going on, extra then drum up for your digestive secretions to move into place with your meal after they've already been stimulated like an hour or so beforehand. I just don't find that helpful. So it really does need to be within quite a specific time frame window to be its most helpful. And it really does make a huge difference when you are looking at stimulating someone's digestive secretions, if it's done properly and if it's done well. So apple cider vinegar and lemon warm water is great, but just done the right way, it's much better.
Interesting. Well, that actually scares me, because there is, a detox, and I put that in little quotation marks. There's a detox product on the market, and it's basically just apple cider vinegar, a bit of lemon juice, and like cayenne pepper. And they say you should do that for 24 hours. So that's a no-no, right?
Look, I have, this is a hard one to answer. So there are many, there is all different opinions about this. And I personally have, just to try it, I did a juice cleanse last year where I had to drink, God, I just want to remember this correctly. I think I did it for 21 days, or maybe it was 31 days. And by the end of it, I was having the juice of 10 lemons or something crazy, 15 lemons or something every morning. It was a lot because it just made no sense to me. And this was with a worldwide health and wellness coach. And I was just kind of fascinated to see what happened, which is not always a good reason to do that sort of research. But I just was like, this really doesn't make much sense to me. And so I was also part of his Facebook sharing group, and so many people in there had so many digestive issues, which he was just saying, no, this is great. It's clearing out your system. And
Push through.
yeah. I am just not a big believer in really making our digestive system work like that. So I think that there's different reasons why people want to do things, but you really want to make sure that you understand the reasons behind that and what it could personally be doing to your system. And depending on your underlying state of health, it could end up stressing out your body systems a lot more. Like, I'm a really healthy person. I'm really invested in my health and wellness. And so for me to try that program that he had was just more out of curiosity, rather than trying to make a drastic change within my body. And I think often people go into these sort of programs not understanding the impact that it could potentially be having on their digestive tract and their liver and their other kind of pathways and systems in their body. And the repercussions from that can actually take quite a long time to heal. And so you might be in a position where you need healing and then people go and add to it. And so that's hard, because also, along with all the great free information and resources there are online, there's also a lot of influencers online, and there's a lot of people sharing information that aren't coming from a really educated place. So it does take discernment when you are sifting and sorting through information. And and particularly when a client asks questions like that, sometimes I definitely, not just sometimes, I don't know all the answers. And I'm really happy to say to people, I just need some time to have a look into this further before I give you a response that I feel really happy with. So, take the time to offer research to your clients if they ask you a question that you don't know much about before giving them an answer. And I do think that that's just another layer of care that people really appreciate, and it just encourages and enhances trust. So, yeah,
Amazing.
it's a big one.
Yeah, and that's great advice. I hope I didn't throw you under the bus there with that.
Well, I feel like I might have disappointed quite a few people out there. So often when I share information about the digestive system, I see people's crestfallen faces.
Amazing. Pia, thank you so much for taking the time out today to come and have a chat with me and share all your knowledge. It's been brilliant.
I loved it. You're beautiful, and I really appreciate being able to share with your community. Thanks so much, Tamara.
Well, I don't know about you, but I learned so much from my chat with Pia today, and I hope you did too. My favourite points, as always, was around the importance of consultation and referral to people who can elevate your treatments and your client results when treating together. There's never any harm in putting your hand up and saying, look, I'm actually unsure about how to answer that. Or, hey, I've actually got a great specialist who I work with for your same skin condition. How about I put you in touch with her, and together we can get to the bottom of this concern faster. I think that shows a level of confidence and maturity, and at the end of the day, your client is going to love you for being so accountable and treating them with such ethics and values. If you've loved what Pia is all about and how she treats and are excited to learn from her personally, you can join her 2-day Holistic Digestive Intensive courses around Australia and New Zealand by following the link in the show notes and purchasing your sessions, or by jumping onto her online courses as soon as they've been made available. You'll find more from Pia over across the socials at Pia Kynoch _holistic_education, myself at Tamara Shaw Reid, and us over at Beauty Industry. Follow, like, subscribe, leave a rating and a review, and all of the things that help our episodes reach more ears while you guys have an abundance of time on your hands if you love the content that we're putting together for you. That's all from me today. Thank you so much for listening and suggesting too that we host 2 podcasts per week to keep you all stimulated from the comfort of your homes, and for putting me in touch with such incredible people like Pia to feature on the podcast. Please keep sending through your request over on our website in the podcast tab, and I'll keep chatting to them on the record for you. Until next time, stay connected.